Welcome to the Transitions Daily podcast. Transitions Daily is an online recovery group that offers a daily distribution of popular recovery resources accompanied by a secret Facebook group for discussion. We hope you enjoy today's readings.
Hello, this is Buddy C. Welcome to the Tao of Understanding Recovery podcast. Today we have Brian and Drew and Oscar. Good to have you guys. If you're new to the podcast, we talk about, well, first of all, we're all in some form of 12-step recovery, and we have found out that studying Taoist text really speaks to our misunderstanding of the higher power, I guess would be a way to say it. It just resonates with us. We've all found that out separately, and then we've just kind of been drawn together by that knowing. And we talk about, right now we're talking about Thomas Merton's interpretation of the Chuanza. And Chuanza was a student of Lao Tzu who wrote or penned the Tao Te Ching, or at least that's how we understand it to be. Before we start with our text today, we'll be talking about the Man of Tao, one of my favorites, from pages 91 and 92 of the Chuanza. I want to talk about first a resource that we have at buddyc.org, a free resource. The one I want to talk about today is our daily email. What I've done, I've taken all the Taoist different thoughts and put them into a daily email. And the reason I want to, and it's free and you're not marketed to for anything else from the email list. You can sign up at buddyc.org. I will take those daily emails, and I'm editing them now and putting them into we'll put that into a book form for later on, but we'll always have them here on the website. No charge. But we are moving to a new email provider. I may send an email out to everyone letting them know. So if you get the email, it's going to be, the provider's changing. So we're moving all of that at the moment. So if you don't find it, take a look in your spam, because with this move, it might, for a little bit, start getting trapped in your spam folder. So just keep that in mind. We also talk about a synchronistic moment every day. That's one thing about studying the Tao, which a lot of people interpret the Tao as just another word for God or the higher power, this path of virtue that we're all on. And today, Brian, you have a synchronistic moment for us?
Yeah, so it's involving my wife and her sponsor. And so a couple months ago, my wife likes to crochet some. And so she was working on something, and she decided that she was going to do a scarf. And she thought, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. And then all of a sudden she said, well, I think I'm going to send it to my sponsor, because she lives in New York. And I said, well, I think that's a great idea. And she said, well, I'd like to send her some kind of gift. And she was unsure about it. And so she went ahead and finished it up. And I actually sent it up there on my FedEx account through my business, which involves tools. So saying all that, I sent it up there, and she was out walking one day, and she was using her scarf. And she said that her husband had bought her scarf back in the 70s, and she was thinking about how she needed a new one. And so anyway, she comes in and sees this box sitting on the counter, and it says tools, and it says, well, it must be something my husband bought. So anyway, he opens it up like the next day and then lays the scarf up on the counter, and she sees it and she thinks, oh, he must have bought me another scarf. And so anyway, they get to talking, and it was from my wife. So it was just really nice how it worked out.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty neat story.
It's amazing how many times that happens.
Yeah.
Most of the time we're not even aware of it. Things come to mind. Oh, I should
Yeah.
I ignore those things if I'm not careful.
Yeah. And my wife, she can be a perfectionist like I can. And she said 2 or 3 times, "Oh, it's not perfect," and I'm like, well, every one of them's perfect. I mean, it's how it's supposed to be. I mean, it's not crooked or anything like that, but it just, and I told her, I said, people are not gonna analyze if one stitch is not absolutely out. They're not going to pick out one stitch out of the whole scarf. And
Right.
it really turned out nice. And I thought she did an amazing job on it. And so it's just grateful. We were both grateful how it worked out. I thought it was a good story.
Thank you, Brian. It's so easy to overlook those things. You have that thought, I'll do it later, or that's not. Fear starts
Yeah.
creeping in about those things, a lot
Yeah.
of times.
Yeah. And
I,
I've learned to kind of grasp on those thoughts. Those things come to your mind, and just I guess you'd call them a God wink.
yes, and I try to just do them if it's not something that's going to cause harm in some way,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's not egotistical or apparently egotistical.
Yeah. If you feel that nudge, just go ahead
Yeah, just do it. If it's not harmful, just do it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. I do want to address a question that I got from one of, actually, it's from the emails, from the daily email I was mentioning. One of our readers sent a question, and the question was, how do I surrender to alcohol? The way I've looked at things with that have changed over the last few years. Initially, the thought was not that I surrendered to alcohol, but that the higher power of God helped me to overcome alcohol. Overcoming something is not surrendering to it, in my thinking. And maybe it's just somatics, but I told Kit that I would take a few minutes today, and we talk about what he wanted. I said I can't respond in an email; it's too much. So I'll check in with him, and if this is not an adequate, when we get through discussing it, adequate discussion, Kit, I'm happy to meet with you on Zoom, and we just discuss it sometime. And I invited. He was going to try to come to the meeting today, and he wasn't able to make it. So we'll just talk about it. I know we all have different addictions that we deal with. How do you look at that? I'll let y'all go first, and then I don't want to dominate the conversation with this. Do y'all have any input with that, or how do you approach your addiction? Is it something you surrender to the addiction, or is it different? Where do you guys land on that? Drew?
Yeah, I had trouble with that phrasing for a long time. Surrender. I felt like, if I surrendered to, my substance of choice, then, that meant that I was going to be using it 24/7, which, I mean, hell, I already was. But the way I've kind of come to view it is, when I was in my addiction, I was using all my power possible to control my use, to control the thing I was addicted to, and I finally gave in and realized I can't control it. It's in control of me. A visual that I've brought to mind is like playing tug of war with it. I'm just pulling the rope as hard as I can. And then I realize, I'm never going to win at this. I'm never going to win tug of war against this thing. So I just drop the rope and walk away. I surrendered, I quit. You win, basically. I can't control you. I can't put up all these rules and follow them. You're always going to win. So I just quit trying to control it, drop the rope, realize I'm never going to be able to win this battle, and just walk away. So that's kind of how I view surrendering to something, is just admitting I'm never going to be able to control you no matter how hard I try. So I'm just going to stop trying.
Drew, let me ask you. Now that is an incredible analogy. I'd never thought about the tug of war analogy, because when you let go of the rope, it stops pulling you. If you're in tug of war,
Mm-hmm.
and you're fighting, you're holding, and you're exerting all the pressure you can. But when you let go, it stops pulling you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what a great analogy. I wish I'd thought of that.
I'm free to go do whatever else I want to do.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's great. Thank you. But how do you let go of the rope?
It's humility. I mean, you
Yeah.
gotta admit to yourself, I'm never gonna win this thing. Because tug of war, you have moments where you gain a little bit of advantage. You're able to pull backwards a little bit, but then you get pulled. And
Yes.
there's sometimes where it feels like you're winning and you're about to win, and I'm going to be able to control this thing forever. But you realize there's no possible way.
Hmm.
Buddy, for me, my multiple issues, I had to figure out why the hell I was even pulling on the rope, period. And then realize that we go back to that phrase, I don't know, and to realize that, my way, it's almost like I got a virus running in my operating system. And I'm really prone to create messes. And especially when I feel that need to double down, pull that rope in and choke up on it one more time. And I had to get to a point of where I could realize that I'm doing that. That helped me with just letting go, that spiritual condition.
Hmm. You
And
think it's the steps that helped you to see that, Brian? How did
yeah,
that become more clear, I guess? And that's really, I think, Kit's question.
It was the steps. It was the program. It was getting out of myself.
Realizing that our help comes from helping others, not
Yeah,
from trying to help ourselves.
yeah. Like I can get, and I guess in a way it's my ego. It's like, if I feel like I have to have the answer. I have to have the magic words. And I even shared something with my wife last week. Like I said, she's in recovery, and she's got her first sponsee, and she was anxious, about it. And told her, I said, all you can do is share what worked for you. You can't come at somebody with, hey, well, this is what you need to do. I do think that the universe or higher power or whatever we believe in brings things in our path that are very similar to what we've gone through, and I've got a sponsee now that, I don't, I'm not well educated, and man, I've always carried a lot of shame around that, and especially when somebody would come at me, and they are, and I would think, man, I have nothing that I can give this person, and I've finally started to kind of get beyond that, because I've met people that can be too damn smart for their own good, and they want to sit down and they want to analyze it. And
that can come from people who have very little education too.
absolutely.
Education doesn't equate to intelligence.
No, I get that. But yeah.
That's hard to see though. If you're like me and you, I don't have a college degree.
Yeah.
the time, we came along, that wasn't,
Yeah.
you know,
And so, you just don't know who the hell's going to get it. And that's what I was sharing with a sponsee the other day. I said, I know people that have, I know a guy that went to prison and got out and he was, hey, I think I'm good, see you guys later. I think I would be in every damn meeting I could get a hold of, and, uh, but then I've had people that their problems are kind of like, do you sure you really need to be here is what I'm thinking, and they're at every freaking meeting. So you just don't never know who's going to get it, who's going to get that grace laid on them, for lack of a better term.
or who is going to surrender.
Who's going to surrender? That's it. I mean, I know my life had gotten to the point where I knew I didn't have the answer, and I had made a hell of a mess, and I was finally ready to. I had that gift of desperation, the gift of a deep enough bottom to realize that, it was deep enough to stick.
Yes. Thanks, Brian. That's good.
Thank you,
That's
buddy.
good. Oscar.
Yeah, thank you. For me, I, I I really think surrender was given, but I can recognize some of the actions before it was given. But it's a very strange process because my ego can't surrender. It will never surrender. It will always look for the next fight. But when I saw that, who then is seeing it? And I kind of experienced myself in all this stream of fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting against everything, against people, against situations, against drugs, against alcohol, against surrender. I could fight. I can fight against God. I can fight against groups. I can fight against meetings. I can fight the steps. I can fight the traditions. I can fight everything. And at a certain moment, it was clear to me, this is the problem. All this fighting is the problem. So stop it. And then I did the practical things, just surface, sponsor, steps, do whatever they say, because I didn't know. I really didn't know what to do. So I let them tell me, and I did it. And I didn't fight with what they said because I stopped the fight. And then slowly surrender came as a kind of grace, or if Brian used this word, that's how I recognize it too, as a kind of grace, as a kind of softness, as a kind of, oh, wow. And a kind of new state of being, calmness, serenity, God. You can give it all kind of names, but it really started. The turning point, the rock bottom was really, I stopped the fight now because I will never get out of it if I don't stop it. This is a continuing fight, and I did it for decades, so there's proof enough. And the world didn't deliver. It never made me happy. My ego didn't deliver. It never made me happy. So let's turn the other way. Stop the fight, lay down the guns, open your arms and welcome. That was which is not even my path anymore then. It's just how it went, how it happened. And then acceptance is important, and acceptance turns into thankfulness. And then I am at home because then I don't have to use anymore. Because when I'm at peace with the world, I don't have to use. I don't have to use drugs. I don't have to drink alcohol. So that's the path I'm walking. So it's not a walked path. It's I really experience it as a day by day program, and I live in this each day, every moment as good as I can in this moment. So when a fight comes up, of course they come. But I have the steps and my fellowship to handle it as good as I can. Thanks.
Thanks, Oscar. We're going to shift gears, save this story for next week. I want to do a couple of, grab your big book if you got it handy, and let's turn, I want to start reading at page 84. If you guys have a related text, I think we need to talk about this a little more and give some examples in text rather than just talking about it. Here's a quote: "If I stop fighting everything, everything will stop fighting me." Here's one from the 12 and 12. "The chief activator of our defects," page 76, "has been self-centered fear, primarily fear that we would lose something we already possessed or would fail to get something we demanded. I'm pulling that rope. I'm hunkering down. I want something, or you can't have what I have." Of course, I never had any. I thought what I had was valuable, but it was. What am I trying to hold on to here?
Trying to hold on that last dollar.
Hold on to my fear.
Yeah. This is my fear.
Yeah, by God. Page 90 in the 12 and 12. Then I'll get to the big book. It's a spiritual ACIM that every time we are disturbed, no matter what the cause, there's something wrong with us. And it's good that there's something wrong with us, because we can only surrender ourselves, right? I can't make you quit tugging on the rope, but I can let go of it. That disturbance, that pulling. And it can be either way, me pulling to get something or me holding on to keep from losing something. It's both effort. I'm going to move over to the big book. This whole section is the stop fighting section. It's step 10. Oscar, when you were talking, I was thinking about how it's like the promises where we suddenly realize God's doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. I usually see those changes in hindsight. I don't see it as it's like my nature has started to change. My awareness, ever how you want to phrase it, to where I start behaving differently. And most of the time, I either see it after the fact, or more often, others see me behave differently and wonder why I did. That happens pretty often. The biggest change I've seen lately is in losing the need to defend myself. Oscar?
Yeah, it's also my experience that I really had to hear it from other people, and I really was amazed at how they saw me, because it was so completely opposite from how I was before. And I noticed things were changing definitely when I went through the steps, but people expressing to me that I was calm and I was kind. I really was amazed. Kind me. How is that possible? What happened here? Yeah, it's kind of strange thing, because in hindsight I see, oh yeah, it's true. I really behave different, but it's not coming from a kind of that I think on forehand, now I'm going to change this. So that's not how it went with me.
Right.
Sometimes it does when we do step 6 and 7. So I want to change this to from impatience to patience. Then it's really conscious. But a lot of it is just happening in the flow of things.
And step 12 tells us how it works. It says, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. It's the steps that bring the awakening. And the reason I think that is, it rids us of fear. The steps help us to identify fear that we did not know was there, or if we did know, tools to be able to surrender to it. Oh, I never shared my surrender story. The reason that shifted for me from me seeking help with to surrender to, I thought about if you have an enemy that you're fighting, when you're defeated, what do? You surrender to the enemy. You don't, it's not, it shifted from God helping me to overcome to the overcoming was in surrendering to, letting go of that rope and quit pulling, to lay down my weapon. You know, if you're in an army and you're say you're fighting for your country and your country's defeated in battle, what do? You're told to surrender. And when you surrender, you lay down all your weapons. You stop fighting. And we're going to read some text that demonstrates that is actually what we do is we stop fighting. And when we stop fighting, we lay down all of our weapons, everything. We don't lay them down for a moment, then pick them back up after we surrender. That's not surrender. We lay them down. And when you surrender to an enemy, it's now the enemy's responsibility to take care of you. So there's an element of that's there. I don't know how that would translate into fear taking care. I'm not going there, but there's an element of you not responsible for taking care of yourself once you surrender. I want to start reading the middle of 84, and I'm going to read a couple of pages here. And let's just discuss as we go along, and comments, please, if you have any. This thought brings us to step 10. What thought? This is right after the promises, the 9th step promises. Are these extravagant promises? Everybody says we think not. I think they're very extravagant because they've totally changed my life. The steps have. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. Work is not holding on to the rope. Work is letting go. That's what's great about studying the Tao. It's all about letting go. It's all about surrender. It's all about stopping the fight. It's all about standing on what is already moving, which I think that's a quote from the Man of Tao. We'll talk about that next week. This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commence this way of living as we cleaned up the past. So it didn't say we vigorously commenced not drinking. It said this way of living, like Oscar was really talking about. We have entered the world of the spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. Don't beat yourself up when you don't do it perfectly. You just continue. It says it should continue for a lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. I have realized that fear can only show itself. Fear's tools are selfishness, dishonesty, and resentment. All of that shows up within the ego, you could say. But really, any of my character defects, I can see them first as a form of selfishness, dishonesty, or resentment. And underneath that, I can see fear. Like they all come out of fear. When these crop up, first thing they say we do is ask God at once to remove them. 2, we discuss them with someone immediately. 3, we make amends quickly if we've harmed anyone. 4, we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. All those are immediate things. We ask, we discuss it, we ask God to remove at once. This is the urgency. At once, immediately, quickly, resolutely. And in helping someone, it's not that you stop and go volunteer somewhere. You turn your thoughts to someone you can help. So this whole process can take place in less than 60 seconds. I have sponsees that would text me. I say, if you need to tell someone, just use me and send me a text. Say, page 84, fear. So they can tell me. Then I also suggest that when they turn their thoughts to someone they can help. I had a sponsee that was struggling with him and his wife had to get a divorce, and he was really struggling with this. He's actually a marriage counselor, and he's getting a divorce. This was years ago, so I don't mind. I won't mention names, but it was kind of, I don't say funny, but
Well, maybe he's got it figured out by now.
Oh, it was to the core. He needed to get divorced. I'm telling you. He was the only sponsee I ever said, man, you got to get divorced. This lady set kettle vodka on the counter to try to get him to drink while he was trying to sober up. She controlled him with alcohol.
Yeah.
And anyway, so he'd text me and say, page 84, fear divorce. I know exactly what he's talking about. I said, and usually if they page 84, I don't even respond. I know what they're doing. But I had a nudge, like we was talking about, Brian, to say, okay, who are you praying for? And he said, I'm praying for all the men that are getting divorced. I said, no, I want one person that you're praying for. Because if you're doing a collective thing, for me, it does not seem to have the same effect of someone, like the text says, someone we can help. So one person that you're praying for? And so he gave me a name. I said, okay, so that's the person every time this crops up, then pray for that person. And I suggested, I said, in your profession, do they have a support group for folks who are getting divorced? He said, oh, yeah. I said, I want you to go to that, and I want you to, there's a whole group of guys you can pray for, women, whoever, that you can pray for. So I wanted to find.
What a great person to be a marriage counselor that's walked the walk.
But see, it was inferiority that was coming in. He's not enough. All those things that happen.
Failure.
Yes. How can I help someone with something I failed at? Now, he met a wonderful woman. They have a wonderful relationship, wonderful marriage. I mean, it's all worked out. But we can't see those things while we're in it. We can see it when we look back. But while it's going on, it's hard to see any. We can't see the outcomes. That's why we're told to lower our expectations, I think, and be present in the moment and learn to live where we are, right? We're already in the present moment. We just don't know it. Someone said that. I forget who it was. Oscar, I've used that quote, I don't know how many times, that we're always in the moment. We just don't realize it.
It's the only thing we have.
Yes.
The only thing that is.
Yes. Yes.
It's crazy. And we keep forgetting.
Yeah. Okay, so what if we do not believe in a God that we ask to remove something?
Just let it go. Just let it go.
The way I can do. Go ahead, Oscar.
Sorry. Just give it away to anything, to the universe, to the stars. Just let it go to nothing. Let it dissolve into nothing. Let it go. There is this. While you were talking, reminded me of Sandy Beach said, "This is a program of one action, letting go. It's
Yes.
all the time. Everything is letting go, letting go, letting go. And what opens up then is who you really are. And there you are. Thanks."
A question you could ask instead of if you have difficulty, because a lot of people have issue. Well, I don't believe in God like that. I don't believe in, all those things. Instead, you're tugging on the rope when you're doing that, by the way. You're pulling. Instead, why don't you flip that and just ask yourself, how can I get compassion into this situation? How can I be helpful in this situation? It's the same thing. Because if God is love, compassionate, God's a verb. if God is love, love being a verb, love is action, God is action. So you just ask. Don't say, how can I get, it's not something you've got to come up with. It's actually a form of surrender, really. It's when you're asking, you say, You could even say, I'm open to bringing compassion into this situation. Then you just sit with it, listen. And then what you do as the last step will show itself. Sometimes I've done this about a situation in my life, and I did not hear something immediately of someone I can help. So I'll just sit with it. And within hours, normally, if not immediately, someone will come to mind, or I'll come across someone, or as long as I'm open, the person for me to turn my thoughts to help always comes to mind. Always. I have never had issue. And if I were having an issue with that, I'd talk to my sponsor about it and ask my sponsor, what am I missing in this? How am I still tugging the rope? What weapons have I not laid down so that I can't surrender?
Buddy, those actions that you take in that day, they may take months or even years to boomerang back around, you know?
And what I have to do, Brian, is continue this process. It says continue. It's
at work.
So when it shows up, do it again. And it gets to the point to where it shows up, I immediately go to that fourth thing to do, that action, which is pray for the person or pray or whoever I'm helping. And if it's a resentment, I'm praying for the person that I'm resentful against. It could be other things. I wasn't happy with my decision to move to the lake. It was much more isolating than I thought it would be, but it didn't make sense for me to kick a tenant out of a house and me move back to where I was from. That didn't make sense. So I wasn't going to add insult to injury. I said, okay, I'll just be here till I understand where I need to go. Now, I didn't think that was going to be 5 years and counting, but it is. Okay. So I was having a pity party one day. Man, I just, and of course I want to have the pity party alone, so I'm having, oh, woe is me, like having the birthday party and it's just you with your little hat on, I was having the little pity party, and I said, well, I'm just going to do page 84. So I went through it. And I said, wait a minute. I have a sponsee who's not happy with where he lives. I said, and I realized that after I was talking to him about it, and I hate it when my words boomerang back to me, but he was talking about how unhappy he was there. I said, well, you'd be unhappy anywhere you live because you'd be there. And oh, shit. I was talking to me, and it's true. So every time that came up, I prayed for him to be happy with where he was living, that he realized that the change was not the change, a geographic change, but the change within himself, to surrender to, and on and on and on, the whole deal, that he would surrender to where he lives. He would learn to be grateful for where he lives and what he has. The guy lives on the beach. He wanted to live in the mountains, I'm like, come on.
Now I got to put you on my resentment list.
He listens to this podcast, I know, religiously, because I get texts like 3 hours after it goes out, so I know he listens. So I love him, and I'm very grateful for him. It's amazing the times that people are placed in your life way ahead of time. I'd been his sponsor for years. No accident, talking about synchronistic moments. So we turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Look what comes right after that. And a lot of people, I think, misquote what's next. Most of the time you'll hear love and tolerance of others is our code. But that's not the entire quote. The next sentence, which We rarely do now, I think, in grammar. They started the next paragraph with an and. I would have made that all one sentence. Love and tolerance of others is our code, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. How in the world were we able to be loving and tolerant? How were we able to stop fighting? We were able to be loving and tolerant because we had stopped fighting. And how did we stop fighting? By doing those 4 suggestions that were preceding this. We watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, fear. When they crop up, not if they crop up, but when, right? We ask God to remove them, discuss them with someone immediately, make amends quickly. If we've harmed anyone, then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. We look for a way to get compassion into the situation. How can I be helpful? And continue. Now, these are some of what I would think of as a 10th step promise. And we'll go through this really quick. We're getting close on time. For by this time, sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor, not never, but seldom. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically, like we were talking about. We'll see that our new attitude toward liquor, or you can say your attitude toward life, has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That's the miracle of it. We're not fighting it, not fighting, not tugging the rope. We've let the rope go. Neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We're neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. That's how we surrender to alcohol, or surrender to whatever or surrender to life.
On life's terms.
Used to, it was surrender to my mother-in-law. I've had 2 mother-in-laws. The first one I had to surrender to. The second one didn't speak English, so we got along great. I mean, that, because it was still all about me, right?
Funny story. Ours has decided that we're going up to see our oldest son in Indiana, and she wants to ride up with us, and I'm generally excited for her to see what her grandson's life is like in Indiana. But I've jokingly told my wife that I think I'm going to take a Greyhound and she could borrow the mega bus and just pick me up at the bus station.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad somebody's laughing about it. I don't know if she thought it was funny or not. Probably not.
Opportunities.
Yeah.
Wow. That's good. But that's how I surrender too. Fill in the blank.
When we do that and sit back and look at it, there's always something good we can find in it.
We don't even have to try, Brian. If we're sitting back, those things just come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
I can always learn from what's going on. Doesn't mean I have to be happy with the situation. It goes back to acceptance. It goes back to being able to be tolerant and able to stop fighting as a result of surrender. That's what surrender is. You stop the fight.
It's that 3rd step prayer, remove me from the bondage of self.
Yes.
And then like we talked about not taking away my difficulties, but giving me acceptance of them.
And I think used to, I don't do this now as much. Actually, I rarely do. Well, I don't know if I ever do now. Get caught up in the words, seeking the formula. If there is a formula in AA, it would be what we just read. The bottom of page 84, the 4 things to do. If you want a formula, that's your formula. Or I have learned that It's not about overanalyzing. It's about doing the work. That is the work. The work is letting go of the rope. The work is surrendering. The work is laying down your weapons. The work is about letting go rather than adding to. It's not that I need to add to, it's that I need to let go. And this whole program, the work is the letting go, not the adding to. And we'll find out, or at least I did, that the more I let go of, I realized I already had everything that I thought I needed to add. It was already there, but I couldn't see it. It was covered by all this other stuff I was carrying. Man, that's good. I'll read this last little paragraph, middle of 85. It's easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. Laurels is past achievements. We can rest on what we've already done or the work we've already done. If we do that, we're headed for trouble, for alcohol is a subtle foe, or life. We're not a subtle foe as in an enemy because we've no longer surrendered, right? We're fighting again. We're not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. That's the continuing, right? Every day is a day when we must. Now, this is a must. There's no musts in the steps, but there's 27 musts in the big book. There are musts. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. Another way I could say that is, what would love have me do in this situation? How can I be helpful, not harmful in this situation? That's the same thing. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts. Thoughts we must carry. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this line. All we wish is the proper use of the will. What's the proper use of the will? How can I be helpful? Not how can you help me? What can I get out of you today? It's the opposite.
How can I be of service?
Yeah. And Brian, that does not mean we are wimps and get ran over by everyone. That's not it at all. When my attitude is helpfulness, I succeed. Anytime if I'm negotiating something, first thing I want to figure out is, what do they need in this negotiation? That's being helpful. Okay, how can they get what they need and I get what I need? I mean, that's basic, business acumen that we learn. They use all those win-win, all those other phrases that kind of turn my stomach. But it's true. It really is true, That's good. Anything else, guys? I want to thank Kit for bringing this to our attention. I think it was good to take a day and discuss this. Drew?
Yeah, real quick, I Googled for dropping the rope just to see what came up, and I found this. I thought it was pretty applicable, but what we'd been talking about. I'm changing a couple of words, but it says when you fight your addiction, it's like you're in a tug of war with a powerful monster. But what if you drop the rope instead of pull on it? The addiction monster might still be there, but you are no longer tied to it. Your hands are free to engage in something much more meaningful. You are released from the struggle. I thought that was a good way to put it. The addiction is still there. Your opponent is still there, but you're no longer attached to it. You're no longer tied to it. You're no longer fighting it, struggling against it. It's still there. It's just not something that you're fighting against anymore.
It takes humility to
surrender.
The first AA meeting I went to a neighboring town because I didn't want people in my town like they would know I was going to an AA meeting.
As if they're not there too.
Yeah.
No, I've been there.
My sponsor talks about going around the corner, and he said it looked like Mission Impossible getting to the building.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, if there's nothing else, y'all have a great week.
Yep.
We'll see you next week. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's readings. You can also receive Transitions Daily via email and discuss today's readings in our secret Facebook group. So for more information, go to dailyaaemails.com today.
Other than the 24 hours a day reading, unless otherwise specified, all quotes copyright Alcoholics Anonymous World Services, Inc., 1952 through 2001.